Welcome to the Bison Brothers Basketball Podcast, your number one home for all things Howard basketball. My name is Chip Washington, your self-appointed Bison basketball fanatic.
What's up, family? It's your boy Brian B. Smooth Poston, still the lover of all things Howard and the lover of all things basketball. It's good to see everybody tonight. E-Wash, man, we missed you, bro.
What's up, man? I'm trying to not spontaneously combust over here today.
as we bring the welcome back theme. Welcome back,
right.
E-Wash.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Missed you for a while. We missed you for a while. So good to see you, man. So since we missed you for a while, tell the people where you been, man.
Okay, that is an excellent question. And all I can think about is telling you what you did on my summer vacation.
well, hold up. Before you get into that, we want to tell the people.
Okay.
We want to tell the people why we're here.
Excellent point.
And the reason that we are here. And so, Bison Nation, as always, we're here to tell you to support these championship teams. Support the women's team, support the men's team. And you can do that in so many ways. So many ways. You can donate to the Mecca Society. That is Howard's Name, Image, and Likeness Collective. You can do that by going to themeccasociety.org. You can also donate to the athletics department and through the Bison Express Booster Club at hubison.com. And as you've already watched the episode, we have a new partner that you can donate to and support the athletes, and that is FanStake. You can do that by going to fanstake.com and using the code MECCA25. And I'm sure our guest today will tell us a little bit more about that partnership. And so there's so many ways to support this team. And Bison Nation, don't forget, please continue to tell everybody about this podcast. You can hear us just about anywhere. You can hear us on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, and you can interact with us on Instagram at Bison Brothers Basketball. So continue to tell everybody about the podcast and just share the love. And Be Smooth, do you want to talk about the challenge that we got out there to Bison
we can
Nation?
talk about a challenge. Absolutely. So by the time you hear this one, we'll be well on our way. We've been doing pretty well so far, Chip. Each week we have more and more viewers. We hit a nice little milestone of 50,000 hours of people viewing our channel on YouTube. 50,000 just a few days ago before we taped this episode. And we hit over 200 subscribers, all Bison fans. So we're building it one kind of fan at a time. So we have a challenge that before the end of the summer, we want to have 500 subscribers. And before the beginning of the season, we want 1,000 Bison Nation fans following the podcast. And so you'll hear more about it. Check out our Instagram site. You'll hear about it on our episodes. But we want to make sure we get every Bison that's in the herd accounted for on the podcast. So 500 before the end of the summer, 1,000 before the beginning of the season. And we're going to do what we got to do. This is fun. This is why we do it.
That's what's up.
No doubt. And so E-Wash, since your fans have been clamoring for your return.
Yeah.
We missed you the past few episodes. Tell us about your summer. Where you been and what you been doing?
Okay. So first of all, I have to go in my dad's bag and say it's a poor frog that don't praise his own pond. Right? So why am I saying this? Because I've been spending my summer taking my collegiate football prospect high school student to football camps.
Outstanding.
We visited the great historic Tuskegee University.
Okay.
We visited Alabama State University. We're going to shout out Coach Eddie Robinson. But we saved the best for last. And we were at the Mecca last weekend for Coach Larry Scott's big man camp for college prospects for high. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Strategist.
The story's getting better. The story's getting better. When you got to the Howard part, it got much better.
Oh my God. Yes. Awesome, man. Definitely want to shout the coach out. And I have to go ahead and do it since he told me personally, we're looking for you to follow up and be on the show, Coach. You said you would do that. So just putting it on out there.
Shout out to Coach Larry Scott.
It was an awesome experience. And it was their inaugural big man camp. So we, made a little history. This is the first time they had a big man camp at their football camp. So
fantastic.
It was awesome, man. It was awesome. And like we were saying in the green room, it's pretty cool to walk around and kind of see all the memories, but it was even cooler to see the changes. A theme for today. To see the improvements, to see what's different. All of those things were really great, man. And I just to take it all in and to be doing it with my child, man. You got 2 kids there, right?
2 graduates.
Yeah, man. So you a veteran on this here, man. But I was beside myself, man. They had me at hello. Yes.
you look kind of excited there.
I was excited, man. I was giving somebody the business that wouldn't help me take that picture at first either, but yeah. And I ran into some people. I think I shared this with Chip. I ran into some people that let me know that our work is not in vain. Yes.
Tell us.
I ran into the one and only Bryce Harris while I was charging my phone in the Burr.
Wait a minute. I might have some evidence.
Hey, whatever you want to say, man.
Yes.
What's going on, y'all? Hey, y'all gonna be seeing me soon on Bison Brothers podcast.
That's what's up. That's what's
seeing
up.
Me soon for sure.
Yeah. All right, Bryce, appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward. Glad you're coming back, man.
No problem.
All right.
Yeah,
there
man.
It is.
Yeah, man. Yeah, y'all doing some good work, man. You could have knocked me over with a feather. I was trying to get my little story together. I'm like, oh, that's him. I was not cool at all.
I can't imagine you not being cool, E.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that.
I was like, oh, what's up, man? Blah, 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 blah. I said, I know this is gonna sound crazy, man, but my brother and his friend, we got a podcast for the. He said, oh, Bison Brothers. I said, look at here. Yes.
Love it.
It was awesome, man. It was like even my child who tried to throw me some shade because he's a teenager. He's like, don't embarrass me out here, Dad. Don't embarrass me. I said, I'm trying real hard not to do that, but you don't understand how exciting this is. But you can't just admit it was a little cool that he knew the show and everything. He said, yeah, it was all cool, but be gone.
I love it.
I'm here to put some work in. So I slinked on off and did something else. Yeah, man. It was awesome, man. It was awesome. I'm glad. Awesome, man.
Sounds like a really good trip, man. I'm glad you're back on the show. We love the cameos. You definitely bring in the excitement that we always look forward to. You are what's good for basketball.
Oh, appreciate that, sir. Appreciate that, man.
Absolutely.
I'm really excited about this guest too.
I
mean, oh my God. He not only is he what's good for basketball, not only is he what's good for Howard basketball specifically, but he embodies the fact that in a lot of ways, Howard is ahead of the curve on all of the things that we're talking about. So
that's a tease.
Strong J, man. Strong J.
Is a great tease. And we appreciate that, E. Washington. And with that tease, why don't we introduce our guest.
And he was raised right because he passed the Richard Pryor test too.
Yeah, shout out to Minnie Pearl for you wearing your tag on your shirt like that, bro.
Yeah.
So since today's guest is on the coaching staff, and so with the players, you know, we've brought a few highlights of the players as we introduce them. And so in that same vein, as we introduce our next guest, we're gonna play a few highlights of our next guest. So in 2022,
Whoa,
Howard
whoa! What are we
University-
doing here? What are we doing? What's that move?
Skills.
What is
That's
that
like
move?
that house video with them kids.
Hey, ah.
So we have Mr. Daniel Marks, who's the program's first ever chief program strategist. In his role at Howard, Daniel focuses on growth in all areas of the program, including basketball operations, community alumni engagement, NIL issues, and long-range development. This position is an important step in helping Howard stay forward-thinking as new trends in college athletics continue to emerge. Now, before Howard, Daniel Marks spent 9 seasons with the Milwaukee Bucks. And with the Bucks, Daniel served as manager of prospect information, preparing collegiate scouting responsibilities for the general manager and assistant manager, along with his own regional scouting at the NBA, G League, and NCAA levels. As part of the Bucks front office that took the team from 15 wins in 2013 and 2014 to the 2021 NBA championship, Daniel Marks was involved with all areas of the Bucks basketball operations department, not just scouting, but also salary cap analysis, intel gathering, draft prep, and G League operations. Beyond his work in basketball, and this is just one of the organizations that he's been affiliated with, Marks founded Scouting and Scavenging, SNS, in early 2020 to encourage sports professionals now from over 120 programs, pro to prep, to collect unused hotel toiletries from their travels for underserved communities. This was featured in many media outlets, and SNS has donated over 2,500 pounds of supplies, mostly via its partnership with the Newark, New Jersey Food Relief Program, which was run by none other than Bison alum, Newark Mayor Raz J. Baraka, our classmate, and the chief of staff of Miri Baraka, also classmate. And one other little tidbit, Amiri Baraka was the head coach of our new transfer, Destiny Bynum Johnson, on the women's team.
Wow.
So look, we could go on and on about Daniel and his contributions to the Mecca, but this is why we have him on the show. And so without further ado, we'll bring Mr. Daniel Marks to the stage in the true Bison fashion, which with those dance moves that he showed earlier, I'm sure he'll appreciate this introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready.
Rumble, young man, rumble.
Hey. We're gonna try those moves.
No, I think we got more than enough with the introduction video. You guys can take it from here.
I don't know. That first move was a doozy. That was awesome.
That was
my man, Daniel.
That was quite. You guys pulled quite a range of videos for that introduction. Very impressed.
I know you were sitting there shaking your head like,
"What?" Filmed at the Burr, so
that's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, man, we gonna be your Boondini Brown. Rumble, young man, rumble.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
But we're really, really excited and honored, Daniel, to have you come on the show. And we appreciate you taking a little bit of your time and coming on. And like I said, there's so many avenues we want to explore with you. It's hard to even know where to start. But just as a beginning question, tell Bison Nation kind of how you fell in love with basketball and when did you know I can make a career in basketball?
So I fell in love at a pretty early age. My parents had like one of those little Fisher Price hoops set up when I was a kid. So I was playing on that thing all the time. I was playing, at the park, rec leagues, ever since I can remember. I was born in DC, and then we moved to New Jersey when I was 9. And my dad grew up a Knicks fan. But when we moved to New Jersey, the Nets were really bad, and they sold season tickets for $300. You could get one ticket for $300 for all 41 games.
Oh.
So we would buy 2 season tickets for $600, and they came with these all-access passes, so you could get there early and go watch warm-ups from the lower level. And they never sold out, even when they were really good. So what we would do is we just stay, down in the lower level, and that was with Jason Kidd and Kenyon Martin and Richard Jefferson. They made the finals back-to-back years. So I became a real diehard fan then. Unfortunately, as I got older, I realized my dreams of playing in the NBA were not, or even college, were not going to take place. So when I got to college, my 2 passions are sports and politics. So I was looking at avenues down both of those. There was an email sent back at the time. Facebook was way more popular among like college students than it is now. Now it's more so, I'd say, Instagram and TikTok. But there was a Facebook group for all the freshmen at Vanderbilt, and the head manager of the team, a guy by the name of Sam Ferry, sent a message in that Facebook group saying they were looking for managers. And I didn't go into college wanting to be a manager, but I was like, this sounds interesting. We had lunch. I became a manager part-time. That led to an internship at Dime Magazine the summer after my freshman year. Became a full-time manager my sophomore through senior years, and did a couple different internships. Interned with Cory Booker when he was the mayor of Newark in 2012.
Oh, yeah.
And was a bit turned off by the slow grind of city government. It was just not what I wanted to be doing, spending my days, but I still follow politics very closely, very passionate about it. But I realized at that point that I wanted to pursue a career in sports. And when I was interning at Dime Magazine in 2010, that was 15 years ago, the summer that LeBron left Cleveland for Miami. And that was a big NBA storyline. And I wrote a story for Dime that I thought the Bucks had an underrated offseason. And that was like re-signing John Salmons, drafting Larry Sanders, signing Drew Gooden. It ended up not being a great offseason, but the story got picked up by the Twitter account for the Bucks. And the GM of the team, John Hammond, reached out to me about that story, thinking I was like some up-and-coming writer, not a college intern freshman. But his daughter's best friend turned out to be in my class at Vanderbilt, and we had a couple NBA players on the roster. So we just kind of stayed in touch. And when an opportunity opened up after I graduated to intern with them, that's kind of when I really realized that I could make a career out of basketball.
Wow. See, that already, man, I have such a great feeling about you. One, because you seem like you already got guru status, man. For real. And what that means is, you seem to be able to connect dots in all kind of like sports arenas. See, one of the things when I was prepping for the show that I got really excited about, and my brother's gonna hate me saying this, is when I found out you went to Vanderbilt. I said, oh, this is gonna be a layup for me. I was like, wow, I think about all the things I could ask him. One, because I'm from Chicago, right? So the first thing that popped in my mind, even though it's no fault of your own, was Jay Cutler.
I thought you were going to say Will Purdue.
I forgot about him. Oh, thanks, see, guru. That's a guru move right there.
That was who I thought you were going to say. Jay Cutler was like a little before I got there, maybe like 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, I even went in my bag and pulled out Earl Bennett since we closed.
Oh yeah. Earl's back. He has a very similar role to my one with Athletics now. He's
that's awesome.
I forget his title, but like general manager of strategic something or other.
Okay. Very cool, man. And then like the other 6 degrees of separation for me was, I was like, wow, man, like I'm also a Tar Heel fan, right? And I think Hubert Davis is still kind of on the hot seat. And when I read, I think it was in a Fayetteville newspaper, that part of their issues with him is that he did not have a strategist for the men's basketball team. And I thought to myself, wow. So you've been there longer and they still haven't filled the position at Chapel.
They did fill it. They hired Jim Tanner, who was a
yeah, but he doesn't have the same title as you though.
It's a different title. Yeah, there's director of player personnel, there's general managers, there's chief strategists. There a lot of the job responsibilities are similar, but different programs have different names. But Jim was a longtime NBA agent representing Allen and John Morant.
Yeah. So I was like, look at my man Daniel over here. He's a trailblazer for the Bison.
And so that's a good kind of a segue question. So since your position at Howard was a new position, how would you describe kind of, your vision of what the position was, and has it changed a little bit now that you've been here for 3 years, but kind of describe what that position is or was when you first got it and how it's evolved now?
Yeah, so I worked in the NBA for 9 years. As you meant, you kind of covered all of the different things that I did. And then after we won the championship in 2021, I was kind of looking for a change. And I saw all of these things happening in college athletics with athlete activism, with NIL, with the transfer portal. And I thought it would just be a really good opportunity to expand my skill set and find a new challenge. So I talked to a number of different programs. I've always loved DC as a city, so I was targeting kind of programs on the East Coast, DC being, among them, GW, Georgetown. If you told me Howard was going to be where I ended up, I would have been like, I don't think so. But I got connected to Coach Blakeney through one of our former G League players for the Bucks, Kyle Casey, who played for him at Harvard. And we connected prior to the Final Four in 2022 in New Orleans and exchanged some messages. And we were supposed to meet for lunch on a Friday. And Coach actually never responded to my text about where the location for lunch was. So I was like, all right, whatever. Not a big deal. He had something come up. So then the next day, it's the Duke-UNC game. And I'm on the concourse at the Superdome, and I run into Kyle and Coach Blakeney. And Coach Blakeney, it put 2 and 2 together. He's like, oh, we got to meet. We got to, we got to connect. So the next morning we had breakfast together, and it turned into a 4-hour meeting. We went for a walk around New Orleans, ate, chatted in the lobby of his hotel just about his vision for the Dream Factory and what he wanted Howard basketball to become. And it really resonated with me and kind of all of my areas of interest, doing things that haven't been done before, civic engagement in the community, using basketball to give back, being in DC. So it was there. So after that meeting, I went home after the Final Four and I told my parents about it. And I was like, I really am convinced that working for this guy would be the best step in my career. There was only 2 problems. They didn't have a position open. And my parents were like, you're going to leave the NBA to go work at Howard? And they weren't the only ones to say that. It was, it ended up being where the director of operations left about a month and a half after my first conversation with Coach Blakeney. And we kind of stayed in touch. And he was like, I want to reimagine the ops role into kind of this strategy role. And he said, he wants Howard to be a very forward-thinking program where schools look at Howard and say, we want to do that ourselves. So kind of the creation of that position was part of that, broader vision that Coach had for the program. So I was, he offered me the job in mid-June. And I accepted the job. The only problem was I didn't have a written offer. I didn't have an email from HR. I didn't have any paperwork. So I didn't want to leave the Bucks until I saw something in writing. And I had kind of let my boss know I was in the mix, but I didn't want to say I took the job, because if for whatever reason, there's a hiring freeze or there's something that comes up, like I didn't want to. Right. So it ended up being where like mid-July, I went out to Vegas Summer League and I kind of told him, I was like, hey, I'm going to accept this job, and starting in August. But at that time, I still hadn't gotten a contract or an at-will agreement or anything from the university. So I'm like, wow. I'm telling him this because it was going to be, the NBA schedule is like free draft, free agency, summer league, and then the league kind of shuts down for like 6 weeks. Everyone catches their breath, goes on vacation. So I was working remote in New Jersey at the time, and I knew I wasn't going to see the GM, John Horst, for the next few weeks. So I was like, I'll try to have a conversation in person with him. We ended up missing each other in Vegas, but I just, kind of let him know before he went off on vacation, and I, did the same thing. And, but I was scared shitless to be I'm like, I just left this job I've had for 9 years to take a job at Howard, and I still don't have the paperwork. And my parents were like, are you actually getting hired? Like, where is this? Like, never seen anything like this. And I was like, I can't, like, what am I, like, this is crazy. And then like finally got some paperwork like towards the end of July and saw like, okay, formally apply, do this and that. And then like was hired probably like August 10th or 11th or whatever. But it was, I've come to learn that I'm far from the only one that's had that experience in terms of navigating the HR processes. But it was quite I was so excited. And so like when he offered the job, I was so ready to kind of take it on and the challenge. And then that 6 weeks from offer till actually getting the letter was like so nerve wracking.
We apologize.
That's kind of a long winding way of how I ended up at Howard, and almost ended up at Howard a couple times, with Coach missing the lunch and then with the, so.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, I just got back from DC and got on a plane, took my son to the camp. No offense, Coach Scott, but we didn't even know what time it started on Friday because we had no communication.
That makes it exciting. Yeah. Oh, so Daniel, it's good to see you, my friend. And I know for those that watched the show, he had a pretty big hand in getting my youngest daughter Ashley excited about sports and getting into sports. So appreciate you.
Yeah, I had a big hand in telling her to eschew the stability of a job in finance and business. You did. Yeah. Let's just say her mom doesn't like you as much as I do, but that's bad. I'm interviewing you tonight and not her. She sends her regards. But I did want to, I guess, follow on with Chip's question because I was one of those people like, you really left the NBA for Howard? That's crazy. We're going to come back to that. But I want to make sure that you get a chance to really just define for people. So what does your role really look like day to day as a program strategist for Howard, just because it's so new? What does it look like for folks? So I would say there is no typical day to day in college athletics. And I think that goes for the head coach down to the student manager, to the athletic, you could be in the office one day and then the player loses his dorm key, so you're on the phone with housing to get a replacement dorm key. You could be traveling and the bus breaks down. You could be, in the middle of a recruiting visit and find out, your players in the transfer portal. I'll give a great example of just kind of the unpredictability of it. So after the 22-23 season, that was a great season. My first year, by far my most, probably my favorite year in sports, just being able to win 22 games. We did our Black Maternal Health Social Justice Project. That was really neat, going to the NCAA tournament. And that core of that team, Elijah Hawkins, Shai Odom, Marcus Dockery, Steve Settle, Jordan Wood, they could have all still been at Howard through last season. They all still had remaining eligibility. So we were really excited, second most wins in program history. We were going to return pretty much everyone other than Kobe Dixon that next year. And then, Steve put his name in the transfer portal and it was like, okay, that's a tough loss. But we got Dom Campbell to commit right away. and then no one else had put their name in the portal, and we had the meetings, and we were feeling like good about the roster. Like we got one spot to kind of figure out what we want to do with. So coach decides to book a vacation to Mexico, and he goes to Mexico, and he gets there on a Monday. And within about 5 hours of landing in Mexico, Elijah Hawkins and Jordan Wood said they want to go in the transfer portal. So he's on the beach in Mexico in a Zoom room, or in his hotel room, doing Zooms with prospects that, 3 days ago we never would have considered, because we had our group. And it's just that, with the transfer portal kind of symbolizes the nature of things. But like, I'll give an example. Like last week, we were running our kids camp, so I'm helping with check-in in the mornings, overseeing the stations. Then I did a Zoom with our partners at FanStake, a call with Eric Grant from the Mecca Society, helped one of our former managers, Nasa Haraway, with some job applications. So it's a wide range of responsibilities, but I would say my kind of core responsibilities are roster management, like helping coach put together the roster, identifying the fits for the team, cost management, like, okay, we can get player X for this. Is that more valuable than player Y, who's a little bit better, but costs $100,000 more? Those types of conversations, understanding, our guys' value in the marketplace, and also kind of looking at what, other schools are doing, kind of being prepared for who might be entering the transfer portal that we have relationships with. The second thing is navigating our relationships kind of externally. So I media, I work with Derek Bryan and Monica Lewis and kind of pitching stories. And we've done a really good job of getting coaches' message in the program out on a national platform. I think better than any lower mid-major program in the country. I mean, CNN, Anscape, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, the Washington Post, like really USA Today, Time Magazine, the list goes on. And Uninterrupted did that mini documentary a couple of years ago. And then, managing our relationships with NBA teams. And I think, we had all 30 teams see us last year, to see Blake Harper, and 2 of them came in person. 30, we've been in communication with all 30 and different things, but being able to get those guys in our gym and have scouts there, general managers. Will Dawkins, the GM of the Wizards, sends his kid to our summer camps. So that's really cool to see, really cool. Kind of, Washington, D.C., scouts are coming here. They may not be coming to see Howard, but while they're here to see Georgetown or see the Wizards or see the Capital City Go-Go, we accommodate them in the best of our ability. So if a scout's like, I'm going to a game at 4 and we're scheduled to practice at 4, coach will move practice up to 1 so that we can get NBA people in our building who then will go on to see the game. A lot of our alumni outreach. So we do alumni dinners on the road. Brian's been a part of a couple of those. I think Chip, we were at the one in Atlanta this year, right?
Yep, correct.
So that's been really cool. Like the night before games, we go to a Black-owned restaurant in the city we travel to. We invite usually between like 8 to 10 alums to come dine with us. And the idea is, to connect the players to the Howard Alumni Network. The pride that people have in going to Howard is really, really immense. And we want our players to be able to take advantage of those connections. Now, we can put all of you in a room with the players, but that's not going to necessarily make them connect with you on LinkedIn or stay in touch and connect. Like some of them, Jelani Williams was great at that. Bryce Harris is great at that. Some of the others are, not as self-starter in that regard. But so doing the alumni engagement, kind of our social justice project, community outreach. Coach believes very heavily in community engagement. I think we do more community stuff than any program in the country. I mean, just a few examples. Our social justice project 2 years ago, Black Maternal Health, was awesome. We got nationally recognized by Planned Parenthood and the Women's Ambassador Conference for our day of service. We volunteered at a juvenile detention center 2 seasons ago. We'll do activations on the road. When we were in Atlanta, we did a student exchange program with Morehouse. Did a tour of CNN.
Y'all really did.
In Philadelphia, I don't know. Have you guys seen the movie Concrete Cowboys?
I've not seen it yet.
Some of it. Yeah.
So, okay, it's great. So it's with Idris Elba, and he's a black urban cowboy in West Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And it's based off of a true story called the Fletcher Street Riding Club, which is a stables and riding club designed to keep inner city youth off the streets and give them something productive to do, whether that's taking care of the stables, riding the horses, training them. So we went there and met with the kids, and the guys rode horses, and we've done documentary screenings on campus. When we were in Newark 2 years ago, we did an event with Mayor Baraka and Mitty at University High School, a school assembly. So it's a huge part of what we do. And then the last kind of two responsibilities I would say are, or three, I guess. NIL, which ties into the roster management, but raising money, trying to be creative in how we raise money, strategic partnerships. We've got Vegetable and Butcher, which does grab-and-go breakfast for the guys. We've got NVUI, which does LASIK surgery for the players that are eligible. Fan Steak, you guys mentioned. Will McKinley, our creative director, brought Ann Pizza on board this year. Just doing different things, Relati, leather goods, just trying to be creative, because the reality is we don't have the one mega donor or the 20,000 super fanatical, you guys are fanatics, but I would guess the fanatic of Howard, athletics. And I always say that the big challenge is for very few people went to Howard where the athletics was a huge part of the student experience, where it's like you go to Duke and being a Cameron crazy is like a critical component. You go to Ohio State, going to the Horseshoe every Saturday is like the pinnacle of your student experience. And then that bond is like through the rest of your life. But because the team was so bad for much of the time between A.B. Williamson and Kenny, the bonds and like very few people went to games and had the basketball program be part of their experience. So getting them to kind of care and invest in that way is a lot harder, because they haven't followed the team for 30. I live and die with Vanderbilt football. Like that is every Saturday on my couch.
I'm glad you brought that up.
But there's not very many people who live and die with Howard. So, having to be creative in the NIL front, day-to-day operations, kind of just, travel, team meals, whatever needs to get done on a given day around the office, and including our summer camps. And then the last part is overseeing our student manager program. We have the number fluctuates. We always have a lot. We've had over 100 show up to the intro meetings at the beginning of the year. But last year we had about 25 to 30 that were truly committed, whatever their role was, whether that was, Ashley, Brian's daughter, who did our in-game entertainment and, campus relations, or we have people doing social media, people taking statistics, people doing setting up team meals, helping with practice. Like, coach is a very big believer in not turning any interested student away from the opportunity to get resume building experience. And it's been a really unique part of our program, and it's majority female. So it's one of the few settings I've seen in a male sport where you'll go to practice and there'll be more women than men, because so many of our managers, running the clock, handing out Gatorade, mopping the floor are women. So that's been really unique. And coach calls it the best incubator of young Black sports talent in America. And we've had managers go on to CBS Sports. Ashley was at the WNBA All-Star game this weekend. Harmony Bailey was with CBS this summer. Jordan Fletcher worked the NBA All-Star weekend last year. We Faith Mulis-Manai did the Jordan Brand, behind the scenes video. Naeem Briggs with USA Basketball. We had Zippy Gordon with the NBA HBCU fellowship. Sammy Douglas as well, part of that. Sanala Stevenson with the Utah Jazz and Monumental Sports. Really, really using the experience they get as a launch pad to opportunities to further themselves. So that was a very long-winded answer to my.
Yeah. Oh, that was a great answer. You're really good. And I want to say this to you as well. The great John Thompson said that it's really important, and he was specifically talking about African-American kids, and Chip probably remembers this. He said that it's important to not discourage them from being enthusiastic about sports, because sports doesn't have to end with just playing. And not only are you a living embodiment of that, but it's just great to hear that idea resonate from a DC legend and then see a DC native bring it to fruition. That's awesome, man. That's really awesome, man. Again about the age thing, but I'm so proud of you. I really am, man. That's just awesome, man.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. We haven't seen E in a while, man. You got me in my feelings right now. This is good.
Yeah, man.
But Chip, you had a question there. What'd you have?
Well, no, go ahead. You go, B.
Well, I was going to ask a question that's unfair to Daniel, so I want to get some unfair questions going because with you describing everything you do and with your experiences, working with the NBA, I want to know from you in the short time you've been with Howard, who would you say is the most underrated player we've had on our roster?
Most underrated.
Underrated.
Good question.
You mentioned people that we still think about: Steve Settle, Elijah. We have a bunch of guys that you hear about. But there's some guys that you see the whole roster. You know about the whole roster. Who would you say the most underrated player we've had in since you've been with the program?
That is a tough question. I have to just going back year by year.
Yep.
I would say probably the most underrated, who doesn't really get talked about a lot, but was Khalil Robinson.
Wow.
Khalil was just a very steadying force. And that team, the thing that made that team special in 22-23 was when we were healthy, we just legit 5-in, 5-out platoons, and we just wore teams out.
Right.
So the first group was Elijah Hawkins, Marcus Dockery, Steve Settle, Jordan Wood, Shai Odom. Shai was great as a small ball 5 that year in the MEAC, rookie of the year. And then off the bench, you had Khalil, Jelani, Osi Akoji, Kobe Dixon, and
Bryce. Right?
And Bryce, yeah.
Bryce.
And so that was bringing those guys off the bench, that was those guys would start for most MEAC programs. And, Khalil was just a very stabilizing force and allowed Elijah played so hard and was so good, but allowing him to be fresh, throughout the games to where he could pick up 94 feet. He could play at the speed that he played at without getting tired. I think, that would be my answer.
Wow.
I would say, because I feel like Jelani's gotten his flowers. Jelani, everyone, knows about the impact that he's had.
That's right.
Elijah Williams with his MEAC tournament performance in 2024, that kind of came out of nowhere. That was really, really special. But Khalil's not a guy you usually hear talked about. And he was part of Coach Blakeney's first recruiting class with Steve Settle. So
wow,
able to come and see that through. I would go with Khalil.
I like that. That's a great answer, man. I knew you would have it for me. I just know it's unfair because he has to love all the players. I don't want him to.
Right.
I don't want to make it hard for you at practice tomorrow.
No. I was definitely not going to choose anyone on this current team.
Smart play.
And I would say kind of as a segue, and Daniel, there's so much stuff we want to cover. It's amazing. Man. Kind of as a segue, and I want to give you and the rest of the staff kind of a shout out because just kind of like you and KB, when that 2022 transfer portal hit and Elijah left and settled. I mean, we were all just like, whoa, what the hell? We're just getting started. But as you talked about, roster management, I'm gonna do a question and a statement. First, I want to give you guys kudos because I think Bison Nation was in an uproar and just a lot of fear when all those guys left. But I can wholeheartedly say that the team has gotten better. Every year, you guys have built a roster that is outstanding, from a talent perspective. And so the question is kind of what goes into that process? What is some of your secret sauce, if you will, that allows you to find the right players for this program, especially in this transfer portal area and the challenges that you face.
Yeah, I think the one thing, we talk about with our program is EGBs, energy generating behaviors. So those are the things that coach believes lead to winning above all else. Sprinting the floor in 6 seconds, getting back on defense, pointing and talking, dapping up your teammates, loose ball recoveries, offensive and defensive rebounds, contested shots, blocks, like things that have nothing to do with scoring. So we call that being a hunter. So we look for guys that kind of embody that mentality. So, Jelani Williams and Bryce Harris would probably be the two. Elijah Hawkins was, that way as well. Kind of like those embodiments of just leaving it all on the line, whether they score 20 points or they score 2 points. It's, they're going to leave their mark on the game. And that's the, kind of the hallmark of the culture and what we look for. It's hard. The hardest part for us is when you're recruiting at the MEAC level. So if you look at the postseason teams from last year, all MEAC, every single player that had eligibility left transferred, gone.
Yep.
So the league, turns over constantly. And the issue with that is the players that are transferring from a high major to the MEAC, that are going to come down to us have very limited minutes. Dom Campbell played, I think, 35 minutes at Notre Dame as a freshman. Marcus Dockery probably played 100 combined minutes in 2 years at Maryland. Munir Hema did not play very much at Syracuse. Alex Cotton, who's on the roster this year, didn't play a ton at North Texas the last couple of years. So it's evaluating, a lot of it's going back to like the high school evaluations you had of these players and their staff. And because that's just really hard. Like they're playing 35 minutes and most of the time it's garbage time. So it's like evaluating that, it's not an exact science. So you really have to go back. Whereas, Creighton can watch 1.5 million clips of Blake Harper on offense and defense this year because he played, 36 minutes a game for us. So they have a ton of information to base their decisions off of, whereas we're making decisions off a lot less recent film. So I think that's kind of the biggest challenge when it comes to the portal. And I think, the thing that, we really the last 2 years never got to see kind of the potential of those teams because 2 years ago, Jelani broke his wrist. He's out for the year. Isaiah Warfield missed a lot of time. OC missed a lot of time. It was just kind of Shai Odom was out. Dom was out. Like we won the MEAC tournament with basically playing 6 players. And then, some of the guys got back by the NCAA tournament, but, we're kind of out of a rhythm, out of shape. Just getting back in the swing of things. And I think with that last year was kind of a similar story, Bryce breaks his foot, so he misses the year. We had the just inconsistency, availability. Anwar Gill missed a week because of an illness, and we just never there was the stretch where we played Bowie State and Morehouse back to back. We had like six or seven available players. Norfolk State at Norfolk, we had like 7 guys dressed. So we've just kind of been bitten by the injury bug. And I think this year, the way that we built the roster is there's a lot more depth to it, where it's like if we have those injuries, which we're hoping, knock on wood, we don't have, and we can kind of see what this group can become. But like you feel good about the depth that we've been able to create. And I think we'll be able to resemble more so that 22-23 team in terms of, the mass substitutions that we have the last 2 years.
Given what how you just laid that out, what players really embodied what you say EGB? What players really bore fruit from that? Where you, like you say, you didn't have any film on them, or you kind of had to go back to high school. Who could you say, they had so much EGB that it sort of obfuscated, if you will, all the traditional ways you would evaluate a player, and that EGB really brought it home for you that, hey, this is somebody that's going to work out?
Are you saying on this year's team or just in general?
In general.
I think for coach, it was Jelani. I think Jelani was responsible for a lot of kind of the transformation of the culture. He had 3 ACL tears, had to step away from basketball, played 1 year at Penn.
We interviewed him.
They didn't do great that season, but came home and was a very mature leader and was just so grateful to be playing basketball that whatever was asked of him, he just really set the tone for that team, that 22-23 year. I think Bryce Harris, really embodies those behaviors. Those would be the two kind of that jump to my mind right away.
All right. Yeah, I really like EGB. Don't be mad. It's on a shirt somewhere. Don't be mad.
And I'll throw my prognostication for this season. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna continue to shout out my man from Chicago, Calvin Robbins, Dunk Master Flex. I think he's gonna be the EGP.
Calvin
player.
definitely embodies the EGBs, and Calvin had a really late start to being part of the roster. He didn't join the team till last August, a few days before our foreign tour to Brazil, and then we had some injuries, and he was able to come on the tour and played well, and then didn't really play much throughout non-conference, but kind of practiced hard, was in the gym. He's a stupid athletic, really, really powerful athlete, and started to embrace the things he needed to do to where he became, all freshman last year in the MEAC, and a great guy. And Calvin also, in addition to his on-court talents, he makes custom rugs. I don't know if you guys have seen that video.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he does
these Renaissance people.
custom rugs, which is a really cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. So Daniel, I did want to ask you something I've been curious about because of your commitment to Howard and really HBCU basketball. In your short time working with Coach Blakeney and kind of helping us build the culture at Howard, what is something you say people get wrong about HBCU basketball? Because I know sometimes people have impressions or stereotypes of the conference and the talent level and all that. What do you think people get wrong about that?
That's a good question. I think there's this stereotype that HBCUs are just run and jump leagues, and there's not a ton of skill. It's just athletes that if they were more skilled would be at a higher level. It's kind of some of the stuff that I had heard, went through my scouting days. And look, there are definitely players in this league. I think if you look at a guy like Casey Shaw, who was at Maryland Eastern Shore last year.
Yeah.
Freak athlete, powerful, but didn't really have a great basketball IQ and just kind of wild. And if he kind of refined his skill set, he'd be at Duke, he'd be at UNC because of that athletic. He probably got a 45-inch vert. The guy just flies. So there definitely are kind of some unrefined, players. I wouldn't say there's a misperception. I think it's just the biggest difference to me is just the size. Your Elijah Hawkins, if he was 5'11" or 6 foot, never would have been at Howard in the first place. Never would have been at Howard in the first place. He was 5'8". So schools are like, oh, he's too small. But then he comes to Howard and rookie of the year, first team. Well, he's not too small anymore. He's just really good. Bryce Harris, coming out oh, he's a 6'4" 4-man. Oh, he's too small. He's, but Bryce, has turned into a really good player. And I think there's kind of that, that is the biggest differentiator. If you look at us versus Kansas in the NCAA tournament 2 years ago, they're throwing lobs to KJ Adams and I forget who the others, but versus Shai Odom at 6'5" and Kobe Dixon at 6'8". It's just, the size differential is the biggest thing. They've got, when we played Kentucky that year, Cason Wallace is 6'3", Elijah's 5'8", They've got Ogenya Onwansu, who I think had like 10 blocks that game against us. Like, he's patrolling the paint against the guys that we had out there. And that's the biggest difference is, that physical size and athleticism. So I wouldn't say it's a misperception. I'd say it's just a reality. Like and I think this year's team, we've done a really good job of emphasizing kind of those versatile, switchable pieces that can play a lot of different spots on the floor. Bryce, Alex Cotton, Travell Bryson, Ed Holland, Osi Okoji. Who am I missing here?
We got the freshman Julian Johnson.
Yeah, Julian's more of like a true big though. You got Jeremiah Johnson.
Jeremiah.
One transfer. Who am I?
The guy from Morehouse.
I said yes, Cedric Taylor.
I'm glad you brought it up. Shit, when he said whatever he said about getting something from.
He said he did a transfer. He did an exchange program with Morehouse.
Yeah, exactly.
You did an exchange, all right.
Cedric Taylor. So those guys are all between 6'3" and 6'8", and can play kind of all over the floor. And that was what Bryce and Jelani and Steve and Jordan Wood were. And then we have Cam Gillis at point guard, who's going to kind of be like the Elijah was for that group, but then surrounding that smaller point guard with those really switchable, versatile guys, I think is going to be really key for us, and will help us kind of get back to, I think, playing that way, where we're playing fast, but we're really, really good defensively and really kind of like able to sustain. Because I think last year, there were so many games. I mean, even the last 2 years, where just because of the injuries and the lack of depth, we just ran out of gas.
Yeah.
And the Cincinnati game at home 2 years ago, like losing in overtime, that was, we were just gassed and guys fouled out. The Hampton game in Newark, that was a heartbreaker. We just have had a lot of those kind of. And the Bowie State game, losing on a last second shot, because when you're playing 6-7 guys instead of 9 or 10, it just wears. It's just hard. It's just hard.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
go ahead.
Let me get a quick segue in, just because it's kind of related to. So Daniel, when we told some of our the people that watched the show that you were coming on, they lobbed a couple of questions at me. So one of our viewers, Eric Peoples, and this is a related question. He kind of wanted to know, because like I said, there's a bunch of Bison fanatics out there. And so as he was kind of scouring the roster, he was, he noticed that we didn't have a lot of traditional big post men, outside of say Julian Johnson. I guess he kind of wanted to know, was that a strategy for this upcoming season, or would it still be ideal to maybe get one or two more?
We're still looking to add a big. There's some, working through some things in terms of adding that piece to the roster. I can't really say much else until it's official, but we're planning to add another big to the roster. Yeah. Okay. But there's definitely that emphasis, like I said, on those switchable kind of pieces across the board. So I think last year, we had Munir Hemo, Miles Stewart, Taiwo, and one other Calvin. We had guys that could really were just centers, and when you could only play a player at one position, it just kind of pigeonholes, because there's times where we might want to play Bryce at the 5 or Cedric at the 5. You just be really versatile and have a point guard and 4 wings out there. And, so when you have a guy like Munir Hema who can only play the 5, there's no other position on the floor he's going to play. Taiwo is the same thing. It kind of limits some of the lineup flexibility that we wanted to get back to. So I think not having – and Dom Campbell was on the roster last year as well. He missed most of the season with a concussion, so I kind of – but, those guys could only play one position, and I think we made a concerted effort to kind of investing in more players along that 2 through 4 spectrum who can play across that than just stacking up, bigs.
Something else just kind of popped in my mind. we actually have an intern ourselves, and I gave him an assignment because I was trying to figure out how could we take advantage of the streaming. I'm so appreciative that the games are streamed, right? And I just kind of keep saying to myself, if we could, I couldn't find out, how they use it for ratings, and how, in my mind, I keep trying to say to myself, how can the school and the program take even more advantage of getting people to stream the games? Do you think that's a strategy worth pursuing, like something we could be promoting on here, like, hey, stream, you all should be watching these games more if you can attend and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think just general engagement, whatever that touch point is, whether it's coming to a game in person, whether it's streaming online, whether it's donating using the Mecca 25 code on Fanstake, whether it's following you guys on Instagram and following our accounts, like just having a touch point, being on our Bison Blast newsletter, like those touch points, I think then start to build where it's like, okay, they may not have cared about Howard basketball or really followed it, but they had a great experience at the game, or they saw in the Bison Blast that Ed Holland is interning on Capitol Hill and they wanted to mentor him, or, oh, the upcoming schedule and we're going to be in Atlanta and they want to come to the game, or the alumni dinner. Like that's where a lot of the growth has kind of come from, and the ability to connect with the alumni. So I think any touch point people have with the program is a positive one. The reality of Howard is we don't have a full-time marketing department in athletics. We have someone that kind of oversees it with Siobhan and David Zuber as well. But David also does all of our ticketing. Siobhan is also our senior woman administrator. And a lot of the marketing for the team last year was Brian's daughter, Ashley. Coming up with the theme nights and coming up with different things. And it's great. And she got tremendous experience. And it was cool that we could say, like, this is, student-led and student-run. But the reality is she's involved with student government. She has classes. She has a social life. Like, it should be, but just because of the research. So that, to me, is the toughest part is, I do a lot of the market, Kenny's a master marketer. Like, he's really all in on that and does a great job with it. But just not having dedicated employees in athletics that kind of can do that and really spread those things around and focus on it full time without being pulled into, okay, there's the homecoming football game and we need to make sure everybody has their tickets. Like, it's just tough to balance both of those because those are two full-time jobs. So to your question, Eric, like any touch point that people have with the team, like we'll have people when they come to the game, we'll have managers stationed at the door, like, hey, are you following us on Instagram? Bison Madness, like student move-in days. Like, we're like trying to connect because you just never know. I mean, that's how those two students, that you guys had on the podcast, Taylor, and I'm blanking on the other name, like Christina. They just kept coming to the games, and like our managers were like, these people are at every game and we should invite them to a practice. And they came to practice and taught the guys their chance. And, they're probably going to be advocates now of future students and people, alumni, hey, support the team. Like, those are the things that we have to kind of capitalize on, just because we don't have the ability to just pump out, marketing materials.
What would that budget look like for Howard in your mind? If it was sort of student run, or like if you like turned it into a work study type thing, or if you had actual adults, what would the budget look like in either end of that spectrum?
It would be hard to say, honestly, just because I'm so focused on just men's basketball. So like in terms of the needs of football and women's volleyball and softball, like there's so many other great programs. So to have a marketing department that's truly comprehensive for, I believe it's 21 sports that we have, 21. that understanding that budget and like the needs and is, but I would say it would definitely be like, you'd want 3 to 4 people. I think football deserves its own marketing person. Then someone that can do men's and women's basketball, and then maybe like 2 others to kind of split the non-revenue sports. Maybe, focus like on swimming and golf, because those are kind of two of the big media drivers and attention, and then someone for the something like that. But I couldn't, say a budget number, but that was if I was kind of structuring it, that's how I would kind of look at it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. I got one more, but I'm trying to behave myself.
I probably would give a shout out to Bison Express, the Booster Club, because that, as a chartered organization on campus, and they, a lot of their fundraising goes to the kind of the infrastructure. They got the scoreboards, for the stadiums and stuff like that. So, fan Bison Nation, donate to Bison Express through the Booster Club, and we can help get that marketing budget going. So many things. Go ahead, E. We don't want to hold you back.
Okay. Now, in all fairness, Daniel, some of my reputation is well deserved for them worrying about what I'm going to ask or say. So I'm going to own that from the beginning. But since you mentioned politics already, and you mentioned you have a connection with Ras Baraka and all that stuff, a question that I sort of had in the chamber, but I feel a little more comfortable asking now is, what do you think this executive order by President Trump is going to do? Specifically for someone like you in terms of your career and position, and then more broadly to college sports and NIL and that kind of thing.
Very timely question, since he just signed it today.
I did.
Oh, he did. Okay.
The answer is I have no idea, and I think anybody saying they have an idea is, you look at the House settlement got settled last month, and then the College Sports Commission basically was trying to put a kibosh on NIL collectives doing deals with players, and they weren't getting approved through this third-party platform called NIL Go, where basically if you get a deal that's not revenue sharing from the school, and it's with a third party, it's subject to review for quote unquote fair market value. So the idea is like, let's just say Chip is a starting safety at Howard, and Brian wants to pay him $100,000 to do a appearance at Brian's car dealership. But Chip has like 2,000 followers on Instagram. So there's no way in the world that the commercial value of Chip's endorsement and appearance is actually worth $100,000. That's what they were trying to prevent. But the collectives were coming back and saying, okay, well, that's not fair, because if we are a business and want to pay $100,000 to Chip, why should Chip miss out on that money? Because if we think it's valuable to us and our brand and our school, then who are you as a third party, entity with Deloitte to say that it's not? And so they kind of rolled back some of those regulations just the other day. And, then you have, teams that are, doing payments, through the collective. Some fold to the collective into the school, and it's all rev share. There's all sorts of different sort of mechanisms now. And the reality is they change. There was a point in time where, Calvin Robbins was a walk-on based on the prescribed roster limits in the House settlement. There was uncertainty whether he would be on the roster this year because of the cap on the number. Then they came up, there was a number of plaintiffs that said, like, this is unfair and it's going to cut thousands of athletes, not just for men's basketball, but football and non-revenue sports. So then they created the designated student athlete designation, where that's a player who would have lost their roster spot due to the roster limits, but can be basically grandfathered in to stay on the roster. So Calvin's able to, still be a part of the team. But for like 2 months after the season, it was kind of like, yes, no, maybe, and now, I get a ton of emails from people wanting to walk on. Hey, I think I can play for Howard. I want to walk on. But it used to be, hey, we'll hold walk-on tryouts, but probably not going to take anyone. Now it's like, we can't have walk-ons. There's a roster limit. So but a lot of parents and student athletes don't understand that and don't know that. like that the number of roster spots that are going to be available is way lower than it was 2 years ago. So all of these people that think they're going to, show up on campus and try out and walk onto the team, whether it's at Howard, at Morgan State, at, UNC, like that's just not the case anymore. So that's a long way of saying the executive order. I'll take a look at it further in depth and kind of see how it applies. A lot of these things, to be honest, are going to apply to SEC, Big 10, ACC, Big 12. And they'll apply to us. But the real thing they're trying to regulate is they have this revenue cap of revenue sharing of $20.5 million that schools can share amongst their athletes. So SEC schools are all going to share the maximum allowed revenue with their athletes. No school in the MEAC is sharing $20.5 million with their athletes. Like most schools outside of the Power Four are not coming anywhere close to that 20 million number. So because
even Vanderbilt has that 20.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They've made a real commitment to athletics. I got to give them a lot of credit. With the football team, men's and women's basketball in the tournament, baseball winning the SEC this year, like it was a great year for Vanderbilt sports. But yeah, I mean, so a lot of those rules are designed to say like, okay, if you're capped at 20.5, then we don't want, Texas Tech's booster doing another $20 million on the side to circumvent that, cap number through the collective and different things like that. Whereas like we're not necessarily going to have that problem because we're not revenue sharing that, full cap amount. So there's, a lot of room to hit to that 20.5 million number. But the reality is, I mean, if you look at whether it's NCAA tournament expansion, whether it's conference consolidation, the college football playoff expansion, there's two conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC, that are really driving a lot of the transfer. It's kind of like trickle down economics for college athletics. It's like you're getting decisions made by the uber wealthy, and then we're dealing with the ramifications, but we're not actually seeing any of the money that they're seeing. So.
Right. But I tell you what, man, and I might be getting ahead of myself here, but you've already again demonstrated to me, one, because of everything you guys are doing. Just I can't say enough kudos, and the fact that you've come up with something called EGB, and that it has tangible results and tangible ways to assess players outside of, like you said, run fast, jump high, blah, 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 blah. And you're being successful. It's good for basketball, man. It's good for basketball. Because it gives everybody a crack at it, man. Yeah. In my opinion, So onward and upward, man. Well done. Well done is what I'm trying to say to you. Well done.
Yeah. And so, Daniel, I don't know if this would be a fair question for you or if we need to get Ben Steinberg back on the show from Fanstake, but kind of going back to your Brian at the car dealer, scenario. If Brian wanted to give if he wanted to stake $100,000 on Calvin Robbins, would that be, would that be a better route for him, or? What do you envision in terms of with the partnership with Fanstake and how that might?
Yeah, I think the partnership with Fanstake, the idea around staking players and the idea behind the app is that there's more transparency and accountability for the fan. So if Brian really loves Calvin and wants him to stay at Howard and stakes $100,000, because the problem that I think a lot of collectives were running into was, hey, Brian, we need $10,000 to keep Chip. Otherwise, he's going to transfer. All right, here's a $10,000 check. And Chip's like, I'm still going to transfer. So Brian gave the money, and now we're going to use it to find Chip's replacement. But he's like, I really only wanted that money to go to Chip. Like, I want us to see him replaced, but that's not who I donated the money for. But now the collective has the money, and once they have the money, they're not giving it back. So Fanstake was designed to, like, okay, you can stake these players, and if they stay, they get the money, which is what you want. You want them to stay. If they leave, you get your money back. So it's like, okay, if you want to reallocate that money to another player, or if you want to reallocate it to the team, or you just want to hold off and see, what's out there, then you can hold off and see what's out there. But that, I think, was the idea behind it, because you had a lot of fans who were being pressed for donations for specific players, and those players still ended up leaving, and the fans were kind of upset that they donated money to keep that player, but the player didn't end up staying and they didn't get their money back.
Wow.
All right. So, fellas, like I said, we could go on.
Oh, yeah, I got
night.
a couple of more. But
Go ahead.
I don't want to wear out my welcome, man.
Go ahead. Daniel, we might have to bring you back for part 2.
I actually thought that before we started.
Because it's so much stuff. Many things.
I can go till like 10:30. I don't know what your time
Woo!
is.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going right now, but I don't know what E is going to have, so I can't tell you how much longer we're going to need.
Okay. Well, I'm also an NBA fanatic, so when I found out you worked for the Bucks, I thought to myself, wow, they've had a decent number of rookies of the year. I wonder if he knows like Milwaukee Bucks trivia. Right? They've had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Sure.
And they've had 2 others, and I wonder if you know which one was not rookie of the year for the Bucks. So Michael Carter Williams played for the Milwaukee Bucks.
For the Sixers, and then Malcolm was rookie of the year for us.
Yeah, there you go. Strategist. Awesome, man. And let's see what else I got over here, man. Okay, what would you tell somebody that wants to be you? I'm gonna shout out our intern Harrison Height. He calls the games at Arabian Mountain High School. He's just and he really does a great job for me, like finding out things either when I don't have time, and then he's young and he's on cutting edge of stuff. And I even I used to have Hawks tickets, and one of my former patients is now an announcer for the Hawks, and I was sort of trying to connect them and this and that. And I thought to myself, man, I wish he could like have a mentor or somebody kind of really talk to him about, what does the grind look like? How did you, for example, I'm just, the Horatio Alger aspect of your story is amazing to me, man. To do all those things and then work for the NBA, what would you say to Harrison if he really wants to get into broadcasting and be around sports and he's not an athlete? What would you say? What would your advice be to him?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is get experience. Like that's the number one thing. I think in my position when I was in the NBA, I would get, dozens of emails a month. I want an internship. It's my dream to work in the NBA. Can you give me advice? I still get those messages on LinkedIn. And there was a story that went kind of viral like a couple of weeks ago. So Sam Presti sent me a letter when I had reached out to him about an internship in 2013. And I saved the letter. And all it basically said was, thanks for applying. We don't have any job openings, but best of luck. And so even getting that letter when I was applying for jobs and I was hearing crickets, like seeing Sam Presti's name on the stationery was really meaningful, and was like, okay, I can kind of keep going and just seeing that. But I think a lot of people reached out after that letter, like, oh, can I talk to you? Can I have 30 minutes? And I do some teaching, some online courses about breaking into basketball throughout the year. But I would say the biggest thing is just the experience. Like, how are you different? Because it's simple supply and demand. I know we talk a lot about tariffs in the country these days and some other things, but there's a lot of people that want to work in sports, and there's not a lot of jobs in sports. And the jobs that are in sports at entry level are not very well paid and very long and arduous hours. So how can you stand out amongst the stack of resumes and emails? And the best thing to do is experience. Ashley has done the job of events coordinator, of in-game entertainment. Like she's done it at Howard, you know, and that is different than other people that haven't had that kind of experience. And it's, you know, now it's about telling that story in a way to employers where it's like, I've done the job and here's how I can do it from day one. So there's not a 6-month training to where then it's like, okay, now she's getting the rhythm of it, you know, that experience. And I would say, you know, a personal connection or personal touch. I mean, the way that you guys, I'm going to give you some kudos, like the intro you gave Chip, like with my, like you read my LinkedIn, you read news stories about me, you read my Howard bio, you scoured my Instagram for those clips. Like, but when someone does that and like then comes to you and is like, hey, I read that you did this in 2021 with Raz Baraka, and what was the impetus for that partnership? And it's like, okay, this person really knows their stuff and took the time to actually research me. There's nothing bigger pet peeve I have than when someone reaches out to me and says, I want to talk to you for 15 minutes. And I say, okay, you know, let's talk. And like the first question is, so what was your first job in basketball? It's like, I'm automatic. Right. I'm done. It's like, you can look that up on LinkedIn. It's publicly available. You know, instead ask a question like, okay, you were a basketball ops intern for the Bucks for 1 year, and then you got hired full time. What did you do in that 1 year that you think allowed you to get a full-time position?
Right.
So like being detailed and showing people that you actually have done research, because I have a dream to work in sports. It's what I've always wanted to do. I love it. Like those are a dime a dozen. Like you trust me, you don't work in sports unless you love it, because the pay, especially early on, and the hours are not going to be that rewarding compared to other industries. It's just because of that supply and demand. So if you don't love sports, that's almost a given. So like, what have you done to show that you love sports? By volunteering, by getting jobs, by shadowing, and then how can you stand out in those interviews and conversations?
Okay, so then that gets me to my next question that people ask players all the time, and I'm not saying you're not a player, but either way, what was your welcome to the NBA moment?
This is a good one. So my first year with the Bucks was Giannis's rookie year. And so Giannis, a little bit of backstory about him. He's came from poverty in Greece. He's one of 5 siblings, but one was in Nigeria, and his parents moved to Greece with him and his 3 brothers. He was the second oldest. It was Thanasis, Giannis, Kostas, and then Alex. So they lived together in a very small apartment, very meager resources, and they grew up kind of, you know, you get X number of, you know, chicken, like they rationed out the dishes to make sure everyone had something to eat. So, and Giannis was also very, very suspicious of people because he didn't trust easily. So it's my first week on the job, and Giannis needs cable installed in his apartment, which is down the street from the practice facility. And he didn't trust the cable guys to be there by themselves because he thought they would take something. So they asked someone from the organization to basically house sit while they were there. And that was me. So this was before you know, Uber Eats and DoorDash. And like I said, I just started. So I was there, you know, it's like, we'll come between 8 and 12 and it's 2 and they haven't showed up and I'm starving. So I'm like, awesome. All right, I'm going to go into the pantry and see if there's any food. So I took 3 Oreos from his Oreo cookie container. And I was like, I put it back, shut the door. I was like, all right, he'll never know. So like the next day in the practice facility, he comes up to me. He's like, hey, Dan, did you eat my Oreos? And I'm just like, what the? He's like, I got home and there were 3 Oreos missing. And I'm like,
3. Oh my God.
I'm like, who the hell counts their like, what is it like? Wow. So I was like so shocked and I denied it. I was like, no, I didn't eat. And then like, it was kind of a running joke. And I finally admitted like, yeah, I took your Oreos like a couple years later. So, you know, to this day, whenever he sees me, the effing Oreo thief, He stole my Oreos. So that was definitely my welcome to the NBA moment.
Welcome to the NBA.
Classic.
And then when we won the championship in 2021, I got a box of Oreos, and he scored 50 points in the clinching game. So I gave him a box with 47 Oreos, and I said I still had to take 3.
Ah, nice.
That's cool, man. That's cool, man.
That was
my
definitely
Oreo.
my welcome to the NBA moment.
Daniel, I foresee in the advertisements for your interview, there might be a caption, effing Oreo thief.
That's right.
I see that
Keep your Oreos close.
The other welcome to the NBA moment. So I was so excited to work in the NBA. I was like, I'm in the NBA. This is a dream. And we had a couple of video guys that were younger video guys. Then we had this older video guy who's one of my close friends. He's been with the Bucks almost 30 years, Mike Sergo. So they kind of had offices here, and my desk was like right here. And one of the younger video guys like said to me, like my second week on the job, he's like, "Hey man, like welcome to the circus." And I was like, "What do you mean? I'm in the NBA." He's like, he's like, "You'll find out, you know." So then like 2 days later, you know, our floor for the preseason game like had damage, so they had to like call off our preseason game versus the Raptors. And then like a few weeks later, you know, Larry Sanders got into a fight at the local club and was like on video throwing tequila bottles, and like then we ended up winning 15 games. The team got sold, and I was like, so his name is Ross, and great guy, and was in the league for a number of years, and now does his own podcast actually, 48 Minutes podcast. And but he was like, we still have a group chat, me, Ross, the other guy Cody, and Mike, and just kind of talking about memories. But you know, everyone thinks like, oh, the NBA, it's the best and the bright, you know, it's like everything goes flawlessly, but like it's like any other business. There's going to be, you know, cracks in the shear. And I just think my rookie year was just going from that, you know, we had like 3,000 people coming to our games, and it was freezing cold, and you know, different things, and then to winning the championship with 65,000 people outside. Like it was really, really cool to be part of that transformation.
Okay,
that's awesome, man.
Wow, awesome, man. Awesome. I want to be like you when I grow up.
Stealing Oreos.
effing Oreo thief.
Effing Oreo thief.
Oh man, that's awesome, man.
I would say, you know, kind of tying in the EGV stuff, and it's kind of related even with the NBA experience. You know, you've been around some elite talent. What do you think separates athletes from those who make it and those who don't?
I mean, number one is just talent. Like at the end of the day, there's a talent gap. Like the LeBron Jameses, the Luka Doncic's, like the Giannis's, like there is things that they can do, you know, that other players can't and never will be able to do. I mean, we had Jason Kidd as our head coach for a couple of my years, and that was my childhood idol. So getting to work alongside him was really, really cool. But it was always impossible for us to find a point guard that, you know, he wanted to coach and believe would be the best option, because his standard for what a point guard was Hall of Famer. And so it's, you know, Brandon Knight, you know, oh, he's too much of a score first guy. He's, you know, we need more of a true point guard. And then Michael Carter-Williams, and it's like, well, Michael can't make the left-handed wraparound pass that, you know, I used to make on the baseline, and that's how I want, like, you know, and there was things, and he would get out there and practice and demonstrate, and it was just like he could do it, and those guys were really skilled and really talented, but they just couldn't do it. So talent's number one. And then I would say, you know, just your work ethic and your attitude. You know, I think there's, in the NBA, you have your superstars, then you have like your really high level starter kind of guys, and then like your rotation players, and then your like 9th to 15th guys that are like on the roster, veterans, development guys, whatever they are. You could take those 9 to 15 and take probably 300 players playing in Europe, China, Asia, the G League, and kind of swap those in, and like the talent difference would be very negligible. But the guys that stick are the ones that buy in, the ones that are easy. You know, there's a great saying I heard: production equals toleration. The more you produce, the more you're willing to tolerate.
Right. That's why Ewash gets to stay on the show as well.
And I'm so grateful.
So the more you produce,
smooth.
I mean, so you're always looking at that, and it's like, you know, James Harden, there was always like, oh, well, he goes out a lot and, you know, he parties too much. It's like, okay, well, he plays 80 of 82 games a year and has been an all-star, you know, 10 years running. Okay. But then you have a rookie who's going out the same way that James Harden is and isn't doing that, and he's going to be out of the league the next year. So, you know, that like that, I think, you know, you look at a guy, he just was behind me at Vanderbilt, but I know him real well, Luke Cornett. So Luke played at Vanderbilt, you know, had a solid career, wasn't a star, went undrafted, signed a two-way with the Knicks, kind of bounced around with the Knicks, and was with the Bucks for a hot second, was with the Cavs, kind of, you know, just wasn't able to kind of stick, but he's like a great human being. He knows, he doesn't take himself too seriously. He knows his role, and then kind of found a niche in Boston and turned that into a 4-year deal with San Antonio. And that's, you know, just being a great guy, put him in position to kind of get that breakthrough opportunity because people wanted to have him around. And he got more chances and more looks than it would if it was like, this guy's a pain in the ass and it's not working.
Well, I hope you don't crush me on this next question, man. Who's the GOAT, Daniel?
I mean, I've watched your show. I know is it LeBron? Is it Jordan? I've seen the episode. You know, I've watched Michael, obviously, but like I was, you know, 6, 7, 8. Like Michael, the Michael I remember most is like Wizards Michael.
Okay, I thought about that. That's what made me part of what made me
so like I've seen LeBron since I was in the 7th grade doing what he's doing, and you know, I don't like look, I've watched the film and I've watched, you know, the old guys play like we all have, but I think it's hard to say like, oh, you know, it's like if you're not watching and see, like, because a lot of it is determined by like LeBron when I was in middle school was the best player in the league, and now I'm way beyond middle school and I'm 12 years into my professional career and he's still a top 10 player in the league. Like that level of longevity, I don't think we'll ever see and we ever have seen. But to say like, oh, he wouldn't, like, you know, it was such a different game. I mean, LeBron, so much of the success is the spacing that the NBA has currently and being able to like utilize his passing ability. Whereas, you know, in the 3-point era, Jordan was never really a 3-point shooter. Is Jordan as effective in this era because so much of his game was predicated on the mid-range? And did they even allow Jordan to become that type of player?
Ask JJ Redick.
So, you know, I think it's, you know, it's good for debates. It's good for Stephen A. Smith and for the Bison brothers to kind of, but to me, it's like, it's just so different, you know, the level of the way the teams scheme, the way that Jordan got hacked, you know, like he was just mauled, and LeBron, you know, foul, you know, it's like he that level of physicality is very different, but just in terms of, I think making it like the number of guys that have gotten paid playing with LeBron versus like, to me, that like he's gotten so many guys like J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert, Matthew Dellavedova, Daniel Gibson, Shane Battier, Joel Anthony, like, you know, Mike Miller, Giannis, like these guys like made career. James Jones, like extended Anthony Davis, Kyle Kuzma, KCP, like they played with LeBron, and you look really, really good, and then you know you're able to turn that into. So that's to me one of the most impressive things as well. Okay. But it's also, I mean, the guy's 40 years old, and he's
Daniel. What's your answer, bro? Like you've been talking for like 5 minutes. You haven't said anything.
Answer.
No. I'm just trying to get to the heart of it. He only has a few more minutes. He's gonna run out.
In my basketball life, it's LeBron. You know, okay. It's LeBron.
Okay. I mean, I just need you to give an answer, bro. You're going all on, like, you know, the era. We're gonna have to edit all that.
I'm not even mad at his answer. I'm gonna tell you why. It was well thought out. He used all of his resume. He's a politician. He's a grinder.
Well, Ewash, that's why you're a high producer, bro.
The only way you lose a strike is because you're in marketing and Jordan Brand is at Howard. I'm like, oh man, come on.
If they're gonna wear Air LeBrons next year, we can talk about that.
For sure.
So let's get a question that you can answer much more easily, Daniel, because you went all the way around the barn on that one. But you said you were loving to get to DC because that was your favorite town. So for the folks who don't know, what's your favorite place to eat in DC now?
So I really like Le Diplomat. Right off campus.
Nice.
Their bread basket, they have this like cranberry raisin like wheat bread that's phenomenal. They have really, really good burgers. That's high on the list. There's a falafel spot called Falafel Inc. down in the Wharf, which is really, really good Middle Eastern food. Those, I honestly like, and this is not just a DC restaurant, but like I love Kava, and there's one right next to my apartment. So if I eat out a lot, it's at Kava, and then wings. So I don't know if it's still in like Soul Wings on Georgia Ave, like was really, really good when I first got here. I don't know. It's like on Georgia and Harvard, just
the corner there.
But it hasn't been open in like years. There was a great spot, steakhouse right on Georgia Avenue that we used to take recruits to, 1865.
Oh yeah,
steakhouse. But they apparently didn't pay their rent for 3 years, so they got
trying to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to high school, Daniel?
Ridge High School in Basking Ridge, New Jersey.
No. So do you have a pregame ritual that you can share with folks? I know everybody else has their pre. What do you do before every game?
So we have shoot around. Like if it's a 7:00 game, we'll have a 2:00 shoot around. We'll have a 3:00 meal. So I'll usually eat the team meal, and then either just kind of like hang out with the managers and kind of BS, just talking about whatever. Sometimes I'll sneak into the offices, take like a quick 25-minute nap. Sometimes catch up on like work that, get ahead for other things, but it's not a standard, like I need to do this, I need to do that. It just kind of depends on what I have going on and what I'm feeling in the moment. If I'm like, all right, it's 3:30 and I'm very tired, I need to get a quick power nap. Sometimes it'll be a workout. It varies. No consistency.
Okay, so let's stick with the HBCU section for a minute because I know Ewash is fascinated, and he hasn't made a reference to Larry Bird yet, so he's got to ask at least one Larry Bird question before we get off the call. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. From an HBCU perspective, what would you consider to be your dream matchup? The two schools that you want to see play, home or away?
So, I mean, playing Norfolk has been great since I've been here. I mean, we've had like that championship game in 2023 was one of the best games I've ever been a part of. When they went up 4 with like 20 seconds left, I remember thinking like, shit, I'm going to have to book flights to the NIT tomorrow, and I really don't want to go to the NIT. And then Marcus hits the 3. They throw the ball away. Jelani gets fouled. And we go up 1, and then like Bankston like tries to dunk, and he's such a good athlete, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna make it, and then it falls. Like that was
amazing.
Was insane. So that has been, in terms of, we've played Texas Southern and Jackson State in Vegas a couple of years ago, and there was like 200 people in the stands. Like HBCU shouldn't be doing like, game, like they should be in markets like area like Charlotte, New York. Like, the Michael B. Jordan, game was great in Newark. I think it was. What's it called? Last year, Hampton's game at the Go-Go Arena.
That was awesome.
East was a great environment. Hampton is always, Hampton and Norfolk have been the best, environments so far. I think Morgan State has always been really tough. Going up there, that's been a tough environment. So I wouldn't say like in terms of dream, I'm not super familiar with some of the SWAC schools and like their environments or non-environments. Having gone to college in Nashville, playing Tennessee State in Nashville would be fun, just to go back to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Now
we play them. They play them in Atlanta, right? Did we play Tennessee State?
Yep.
Yeah.
And now they got KB got a Duke alum heading Tennessee State. Nolan Smith.
Nolan, yeah,
that'd be cool.
So two more questions.
I'll throw that question back on you. Like, what HBCU would you want to see us play that we haven't? I think we NCAT. I know there's been talks about getting that rivalry back going. I'm not, sure if that's official yet, but I know that meant a lot to people in the past.
Yeah. No, I'll let Chip go because he likes he loved South Carolina State last year, so maybe he'll give them some more love. What do you think, Chip? What do you think?
I probably would go with Hampton. As kind of the marquee matchup. I mean, both great teams. The history, with both schools. Of course, the new rivalry with the whole who's the real HU, even though we're the only HU. They were Hampton Institute, but I would go with Hampton. Hampton. I think it would draws nice crowds, a lot of energy with the fan bases on both teams when they get together. So that's my short answer.
Ewash, what about you?
Well, that's tough because I guess I'd like to see him play Tuskegee. I would like to see him play Tuskegee, man. They play Morehouse all the time. And Tuskegee is one of those under the radar D2 schools that's always kind of low key putting some people in the pros. They attract people from D1 schools in basketball and football, and they always competitive. So I kind of wouldn't mind see Howard play Tuskegee.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, so Daniel, I think we already have some of the matchups I'm looking forward to. I like the Institutional Pirates of Hampton. Shout out to the Institute. I love when we play Norfolk State because we know it's usually between us and them for a spot in the tournament. So they kind of get ready for us. We get ready for them. I would be excited with my wife being an Aggie alum for North Carolina A&T to hit the schedule again, especially if it's in Greensboro, because I get to see you all travel down and maybe hit 2 games in one weekend instead of having to go all the way to Orangeburg. But I digress. The only thing that I think that would be interesting is if we could schedule whoever the champion of the SWAC was as part of our non-conference schedule, so we could see, because we don't get a chance to play SWAC schools on a regular basis, but if we could just make sure we could always schedule whoever the champ was, that would give us a chance to at least know how we're competing with the other kind of super league for HBCUs, because that would give us kind of a way to know how we're doing in those other areas. We just don't play enough of those schools anymore. We used to play FAMU because they were part of the MEAC and Bethune-Cookman.
There are some SWAC schools in conversation to be on the schedule this year.
Yeah.
So hopefully.
Yeah. So like I said, if you added a SWAC school that we wouldn't normally get to see, I think it would just, because Howard has a bit of a global brand. So when we show up, we can actually, pull people, at least viewers on television. I still think to your point, we don't have enough fans that are putting butts in seats just now. So if we could do it in a place where there's already a lot of people who would come, that'd be great. But that'd be the only dream matchup, is to play schools we don't get to see all the time, like the SWAC, right? Host them in the Burr, maybe.
Well, it's so funny, B, man. One of the great things that happened when we was in D.C. was going to the bookstore and getting paraphernalia, right? And we went all through the clearance rack, and you should have seen my son Ace's face light up when we found a shirt with Alabama State versus Howard on there. Because he went to both of those camps, man. I was like, dang, that's really cool, man.
Yeah, really cool. They do all the classics that we do. That's absolutely right. So yeah, so Daniel, those are some of the questions I know that to round it out for us. There's one more I have for you, and it's only because you mentioned his role in you becoming a Howard Bison. What's your one word to describe Coach Kitty Blakeney?
Visionary.
I got you.
I think a lot of this stuff he's done here or said he was going to do here, a lot of people are like, there's no way. Whether that was people internally at the university, externally, in the alumni base, in college basketball. And he was like, no, we're doing it here. We're going to be a program that wins championships. We're going to go to the NCAA tournament. We're going to have pros. We're going to have an impact in the community beyond. Howard is going to be a brand that people look to. And, you know, after my first year with that championship, you know, so much of the stuff that we had talked about in New Orleans in April, and then like looking back in March, like all the stuff that we had been able to accomplish and the accolades for the players, the regular season and tournament championships, selling out, you know, versus Norfolk State, playing in March, being with VP Harris a number of different times, our social justice project, like that. I mean, so much of that stuff came to fruition, and he has a huge list on his phone of like things that he wants to do and things for Howard and visions he had. And so like that to me is the one, like he does not think small. He does not think, oh, well, if we can just do this good enough, if we can just make it work. It's like, no. That's not what we're doing.
I'm so glad, man. I'm so glad you have come our way. You know, they call it the Dream Factory, man. I can speak for myself personally to, you know, it might be a bit of a stretch, but since you're into politics too, to see Barack Obama become president is pretty amazing, right? But to see Howard University doing all of these things that was only a passing thought 15 years ago is nothing but amazing. And I appreciate your role in that. I can see your fingerprints over all of this just listening to you, man. So thank you for what you do, man. Thank you very much.
No, appreciate that. Awesome. And appreciate you. I mean, like, you know, you guys, like, these are the fans we like. I wish there was 3,000 of you guys that like live and breathe and die with, because that would fill up the Burr. If we had, you know, 3,000 of them, and then students, if you get a pop, like it's that, you know, making it, you know, Taylor and Christina, like having that experience, you know, KB talks about that all the time. Like the guy that funded our practice gym is a guy by the name of Randy Chen. And he was a Cameron crazy when Kenny played at Duke. And it was such a part of his experience that he's, you know, now donates to Duke Athletics. And then when Kenny got the job, he wanted to help him and donated the money for the practice gym because it was so transformative. You know, he goes to K Academy every year. And like that is the highlight of his calendar. And so having, you know, creating people where it's like whether they're managers for us, whether they're players, whether they're students, like that the basketball team made an impact in a positive way on their campus experience. Like we may not be seeing it now because a lot of them are, you know, still young or still figuring it out, but like in 10 years from now, in 20 years, whether, you know, I'm still here, whoever is here, like there's going to be a lot more people that are invested in the success of the program because they're having an experience on campus that has something to do with basketball, and that's going to be something they remember.
I love that.
You also reminded me of Bill Simmons. Have you ever read the Book of Basketball?
I haven't. You know, I read Bill Simmons and listened to some of his podcasts, but I have not read the Book of Basketball.
Oh, you would love it.
Shout out to Bill Simmons. Yeah.
You would
hope he's a sponsor for the show, Chip. You're going to advertise like they better give him a call.
Am I wrong? No? I don't think it's untrue. Didn't I put you up on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the reason, just like the way you came on the show, man, all of your life experience kind of integrated into why you love basketball. So when I opened that book and he started talking about the wire, and just like how your dad talked about them season tickets, they had Celtic tickets. Here it comes, B. Here it comes. They had Celtic tickets before Larry Bird got there.
Not a show goes by without him mentioning Larry Bird. It's incredible.
I had to do
It's
it, man.
incredible. It's incredible.
and it's really, really incredible. But at least B, if you look at some of my stuff back here,
Yeah.
there's your birthday present right there, B. I'm sorry,
Thank
I
you.
got to take a little of your moment there.
I appreciate you. Yeah,
I bought this just for you, man.
you did.
For you.
I'm gonna wear it for you, or
Thank you,
use it
man. Thank you.
or use it to wipe up something later on. I don't know. You just let me
And
know.
y'all gonna excuse me one second, Daniel. Since you already got the book of basketball, I can't give you that. But
I don't. I've never read that actually.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna get you information. I'm gonna get you that book, but I want you to hold tight 1 second. I want you to see this shirt. Hold on.
He's never really been on TV before, Daniel. So you have to excuse him. He thinks this is a family Zoom. He can just walk around later there. It's pretty good.
I mean, I'm impressed with his. He's got the Ian Wheeler.
My speakers work. I heard everything you said.
You can hear everything I said. I said what I said.
Oh, I just killed.
Did you knock down your props again? Okay.
Okay. So I've got these shirts online, and I feel like a true hoop guru would really appreciate it. You probably can't make it out because of the. I don't know if I get close enough, man, but it has
like spaghetti. It looks like spaghetti right now. Who is that? What is that?
It has all the top 75 guys on here.
Oh, okay, cool.
And
is
it's
LeBron on there?
really
Is LeBron on there?
Huh?
Is LeBron on that shirt?
I'm sure he is.
Can you find him? I can't find him. I see Michael, but I don't see LeBron.
I'm not even gonna be hating on LeBron like that, man. LeBron, he got it going on. He's not the GOAT, but he does have it going on. And so I'm gonna get you one. I don't know if I can get another one, so I'm gonna give you one of the two that I bought.
Oh, nice.
I want you to have this shirt, man.
This is for Daniel. You got that for Daniel or me?
Yeah. Well, you getting the Larry Bird.
Oh, thank you.
You get
That's
the Larry
what I
Bird.
wanted.
And then I got Chip something. You'll appreciate this, Daniel. I was so excited in the store, so we got this for Chip.
Appreciate it.
Man, I mean, we were loving running through that store, man.
I love it.
I tried to put up. I know it's a basketball show, but I was so moved when I saw Ian Wheeler on Hard Knocks last year. To your point, those touch points, man, that really hit home to me. Seeing his mom and all that kind of stuff, and knowing that he's still on the roster. So I made sure I put my man up there today. I'm just on a Howard high right now, man. I'm on a Howard high.
These are fanatics we need. Fanatics
we
need.
Man. So I'm gonna go ahead and claim it. We're gonna start filling that gym up.
Yeah,
that's the goal.
We have to. Yeah. And Daniel, like you said, that's our mission. That's one of our missions. For starting the show is energize Bison Nation to support these teams wherever they are. Like I said, and especially at the burst. So we're gonna do our damnedest to get people in the gym excited and donating and all of that. So
love it.
Yeah, that is the goal. So right, Daniel, so I got a question. I guess that we'll kind of go out on this since you're going to be here for the next 10, 15 years, and we're going to win at least 3 national championships and perennially going to the NCAA tournament. When the Daniel Marks era is over, how would you like to be remembered?
Great question.
By Bison Nation.
I would say probably just as someone. I mean, I'm a white Jewish guy from New Jersey, so working at an HBCU, there's probably not many people who would have ever expected me to be doing that, including myself. It just would never. I've always been a student of history. Like, I love the civil rights era and read a ton of books on that and Vietnam and the 60s. So I've always been interested in race relations and the history in this country. So HBCUs have always intrigued me, but in terms of actually working at one, I was never. I thought I was gonna when I went into the NBA, I thought I was gonna be in the NBA for 30 years. I never envisioned wanting to leave at any point, and then things happen and things change. I would say just probably to be remembered as someone that really embraced the experience of being at an HBCU and being at Howard. I think there's a lot of people that when they come into a space that's not one they've traditionally been in, they're feel the need to act a certain way or, do certain things. And I've never really been anything other than just myself and, tried to, understand where I'm at in the history of the place that I'm at and be accepting of that and respectful of that, but not try to, come in and, wear my clothes a certain way or do, change the way I talk, because I've been around people working in basketball where it's like, they'll be in one setting and they'll act one way and another setting and they'll act another way. And I think, you have that just in life in general, but I think, and Chip, I've met you a few times. Eric, I don't think I've met you yet, but Brian, I've met a number of times, but I think Brian will say, whether it was in the office, just BSing with the managers or at an alumni event or, on the sidelines at a game, I'm pretty consistent in the way that I carry myself and try to represent Howard. And I think that kind of consistency and embracing the uniqueness of my experience at Howard and the uniqueness of Howard, I think is what I kind of want to be remembered by. Because I think, there's definitely people when I got the job at this is another quick story about the Howard experience. So my first week on the job, so in the NBA, you have staff locker rooms and they put out towels and they put out soap and shampoo and you've got, slides that are in your locker and you've got your own locker space with your name on it. And so I was so I go to take a shower. It's a Thursday. It's my third or fourth day. So I go to take a shower in the staff locker room. Coach Tyler Thornton told me yeah, you can use that staff locker room if you want to shower. So I go take a shower and I'm showering and I didn't bring a towel. I didn't bring soap. I didn't bring anything. I just assumed that all that stuff was going to be in there. So I'm taking a shower in this auxiliary staff locker room. And it's and I get out and I'm I get in and I'm oh, there's no soap. And then I'm all right, well, I can maybe take some hand soap or whatever from the thing. And I'm okay. And then I get out and there's no towels. And I'm I'm Cuba Gooding Jr. and Jerry Maguire. I got to air dry, so that, and then one of the football coaches was in there at the time, and he's like, what are you looking for? I was where's the towels at? He's you got to bring your own. Where'd you come from? And I was I worked in the NBA, and so that was a kind of a welcome to Howard moment, and
right.
I think you can kind of look at these trials and tribulations and be oh, this sucks, what a pain in the ass. But I actually have a group chat with some of my NBA buddies called MIAC Moments, where it's kind of just crazy stuff that would only happen at Howard or in the MIAC, happens, and I'll text it out, so it kind of keeps it light. And I think just understanding we don't have all the bells and whistles that the NBA does or that other schools do, but it's a very unique place, and kind of just embracing even the aspects of it that are, quote unquote, less than ideal.
Yeah.
That's probably how I, want to be remembered.
Appreciate that, man.
I can see him. No soap, no towel. Who the hell took my Oreos?
Yeah. No, but that was I was yeah, this is a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I thought a bait, staff towel. I'm oh, that that wasn't even to me. That was such a low hanging fruit. Assuming they'd have locker rooms or towels in the coach. When I was at Vanderbilt, you had towels in the coach's locker room for the coaches.
Sure.
Shower. So I'm and I get out of that shower and I'm
well, welcome to Howard.
Man,
oh, this
might be my favorite interview of all time.
probably the funniest though was so this was right before the start of the season, and there was a rat that came in a bird during practice one day, and it was DC. Anywhere in DC, any major city, you're gonna have rat. I don't care if you live in the nicest high rise in New York City, you're gonna have rodent. So it's not a Howard specific problem, but it was practice was going on, and this massive rat was just running around. So I took like a broom and I was like chasing through the stands with this. I'm surprised that didn't. Oh, I guess it's not a public video, so that's why I didn't highlight
It's a video. It's not online.
So
we'd be looking for the rat chasing you back. That's
right.
So I'm like chasing it around, and then finally like we get it, and then it like falls onto the floor, and Ryan Berry, who was one of our managers, like puts it in a Gatorade towel and like covers it up, takes it back out, and like dumps it into like the sewer or outside. But it was just it's just like, you know, you're just like, you just never know what's gonna happen. And again, like you can be, oh man, I can't believe I just had to chase a rat around the gym. But you know,
that's called flavor. That's flavor.
Yeah.
I want to corroborate a story and see if I think you were here when this happened. Well, we had Coach Ongley on, Steve on, and I think he told us about a bus ride. I think he called it the bingo bus. He said it was
Cleveland, right?
That was the year before me. That was the All-Star game in Cleveland. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, which bus were you on? Got it. Got it.
Oh, that's the best.
That was great.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, hey, Daniel, man, we appreciate you really coming on, man. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, no, this was a lot of fun.
Indeed. So, hey, Bison Nation, continue to support these championship teams. Support Daniel, KB, Steve, Rod, the whole coaching staff, Mel, Ty Grace, and everybody. We thank you for coming. And so, you know, you've been watching the show. You know how we're going to end this right now. And the call to action, of course, continue to support this podcast. But we're going to end this show with the great Daniel Marks, like we end all of our shows. You know.